to another halftime chat, live edition, and I've got one of our fan favorite guests, Mr. T.L. Cross. I was so surprised when you first came on, and um, you attacked it like you were. I don't know. You know how Malcolm X would just be so eloquent with his words. So I went back through the interviews and stuff like that, and how you took your time to explain things. But how are you doing, sir?
Man, I'm doing great. Thank you for bringing up Malcolm. I have Malcolm right on the wall there. It
Okay.
always kind of reminds me that you can always have a second chance. When we're all fallible, like Malcolm was. Did we come back, man, and have a second chance? Most of us have a second chance.
Yeah, well, most of us. Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, this is Black History, Black Music Month, Black
Yes.
Music Month, and I guess I mean for yourself, who you tend to do your cross minutes. Sorry, cross minutes,
Yeah,
and you
cross.
really, yeah, and you really go through a lot of sort of things that most of us wouldn't have known about. What's your I mean, how do you see Black Music Month? Do you really see it as something that's important to celebrate, or as it just a token gesture, or how do you see it?
Um. Well, for me, it's Black Music Month every month. You know.
Okay.
And even interestingly enough, when you look at the history of just music in general, you can oftentimes find traces of Black music, even in music that people don't consider Black music. You can always trace, some of the remnants of that. So Black music is always here, it's always present, it's always prevalent, it's always in my mind. Music, as I said, I think I once said before, is the cultural aspect of a thing exists first.
Mhm.
And then after the cultural aspect exists, the music ends up being the sound of what that culture is. So it's usually not the music first and then the culture follows. It's the culture first and then the music is what that culture would sound like. It's put to a melody, beat, rhythm, cadences, and that kind of thing. So I'm living everything all the time. That is the culmination of what ultimately ends up being Black music. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
so I didn't answer your question. I didn't answer your question, but I answered it my way. But what I will say is the fact that there is a Black Music Month. Um, I guess for people who tend to forget to pay homage or forget their reverence and stuff, to kind of pick it back up at that time. So I guess it works well for the person.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about like, okay, the NPR, or so National Public Radio, they're doing the Tiny Desk, and
Yes.
then showcasing a lot of black artists. That
Yeah.
I mean, some like Shaka Khan would get a
Yeah.
spot, um, but after her verses album, maybe people weren't sure if she was, if she was up to singing again. I
Mhm.
think SWV are coming up, and so it looks as if they're shining a spotlight where probably giving them a bigger platform. I mean, as I said, I have an issues with um, having those sort of Black History Month, because it's like, okay, let's do our thing, let's hear about Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, and then at the end of it, it's like, okay, back to normal. So
Right. Right.
I- it's a double-edged sword. Whether do we do embrace it and celebrate it? Then
Yeah.
what happens come July? Does Black music not get celebrated the same way?
Right. Yeah. Usually historically, Black music is historically celebrated every day, but the Black people by whose culture it comes from are excluded from the celebration. And you know what I mean? So
Mm,
it becomes like, let's listen to, commercials, TV commercials, film, you know, all of these different references to things that comes out of Black music and Black culture, from the Temptations and the soul music in the Sam Cooks and all that stuff on to some of the hip hop and some of what we see today, but we don't see the faces. It's kind of like when you look back at the 50s and they had the music,
mhm.
but the artist, the picture wasn't on the actual cover. So we
Yeah.
can celebrate the sound of it. We can celebrate what the culture produces, but not the people. What happens is during Black Music Month, you start seeing the faces of the people. But then after it's over, they're like, all right, y'all can go back. You know what I'm saying? But we'll still be taking this with us. We're using this. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
nah, man, for a person like yourself, you're celebrating every day, every month, every minute, every hour. And I appreciate you for that. Also your work, I'm doing cross in a minute, but you do your work, man. And it's very, very important because we know that it's not marginal. This is not a marginal thing. This is not something that you can bring out within one little period of time and then put away. So when that Black, Music Month time comes, we can all come on in, y'all. We've been here for a while, but come on in. Join the party. But when they leave, it's still up to brothers like yourself and me and everybody else to continue to do the work.
And what about Juneteenth? Because I was in the States for 10 years. I'd never heard of Juneteenth. It was never something that was ever brought up. I
Yeah.
think even this Black Music Month, it wasn't something big. So I don't know. Is it post George Floyd that it just all crept in, and this was just a way of just saying, oh yeah, we haven't forgotten you guys. I mean, it just seems like it's now a
Yeah.
big thing. Concerts are happening,
Yeah.
marches.
Yeah. So we've been here. We we've been through Juneteenth the whole time. You know what I'm saying? Juneteenth is it's old. It's an old holiday. And when I say old, I don't mean old as in obsolete. I mean old as in it has a lot of history to it, and it's
Mm.
been being celebrated year after year after year after year. And I think here's what I will say. Within the Black community, it's been celebrated and it had been getting bigger over periods of
Uh,
time. We've been having Juneteenth events for years and years since my childhood, and
wow.
oh yeah. But here's the thing, yo, um, pro Blackness started to become profitable. At, yo, it's the craziest thing. It's become marketable. Pro Blackness, it's become marketable. I'll give you an example. Get Out, the movie by Jordan Peele.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Oh man, Oscar worthy. Black Klansman by Spike.
Mm.
Oscar worthy. Now, when Spike didn't change, Spike was always doing those types of provocative things, thought provoking things as it pertains to race and that whole thing. But when Spike was doing it before, it was kind of like a nuisance, and it was kind of giving him some type of a ceiling that he couldn't get past because
Yeah.
here's Spike talking about race again, right? But then he does Black Klansman. It's like, give this man an Oscar because something happened. Like at some point, pro Blackness started becoming. There's my confetti. Yo,
Even I.
it's so what the confetti comes down when they feel like I've said something poignant. You know what I'm saying? Let's remember that. But yeah, it was probably because I was clapping, right?
Yeah, it's fine. Hey, adds to the effect.
Hilarious. But yeah. So at some point, rappers who were not necessarily pro-Black, they started saying a few things that was pro-Black. Certain people who hadn't addressed this before, now they're doing it, and so here we are today. And yeah, now we're ready to commercialize a Juneteenth. We're ready to commercialize, certain things. And then certain companies, they begin to make money and make profit off of it. So they're kind of realizing that they can make some profit off of pro-Blackness, when they take it, run it through the washing machine and dry it and kind of do something different with it. But it's been here for a long time, man.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. As I said, because as I said, I came to the States, went to college, and lived. So I guess historically, so stuff like, so I knew about Selma because I lived out in Selma,
Yes.
but I didn't know about Oklahoma.
Oh,
You know, and I actually had a very good friend who was from Oklahoma, and she says, "Yeah, no, I can't let you. Yeah, my brothers and my dad are extremely racist." She was white. Can't
wow.
let you. Yeah, we're in college. No, we worked in L.A. And she says, "No, yeah, if they ever knew that I had a black friend, I'll be disowned." I'm like, wow, and, this was like maybe 90 in the 2000s.
What you
but I
got?
had no idea about stuff like that. And um, I guess it's sometimes in the history of America, there's a sense of going back to before the civil rights stuff, but I guess it's not really recognizing how much it has held people back and how hard it is to move forward. A lot of those who were or African that came over to the States, we didn't have that baggage. And I remember coming at first in college, and people say, "Yeah, man, there's no point finishing university because the system's going to pull me down,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not going to work." And I'm thinking, what kind of nonsense is that? I couldn't understand
Mm-hmm.
because my dad and my grandfather went under segregation, so I'm not hearing the stories. I'm not seeing all this stuff. I'm seeing, wow, look at all this opportunity in America. Look at, you can become rich if you want. You can
Yeah.
become the president. So most of us who come in see the opportunity because we're not held down by baggage, and then that's why you may see uh, um, a lot of I don't even know the words you call, but a lot of Africans, Nigerians, and stuff coming over, Indians coming over, see the opportunity and just fly with it,
Yeah.
and and not really understand what's happening to other people. How have you, especially we spoke about growing up, crack epidemic and all the stuff that's been happening. How are you able to see past all of that and still be able to not say, well, the system's going to hold me down?
Um. Well, struggle, has been a part of the black narrative here. All right. I'll give you an example. My parents are from New Orleans, Louisiana.
Hmm.
My parents are from the Jim Crow South. All right. Like my parents are from the Jim Crow South. Like not my grandparents, great grandparents, my actual parents are from the Jim Crow South. When you see the fire hoses, the dogs, and you see
Mm-mm.
no coloreds and no that kind of thing, whites only, no cut. That was my actual parents' reality. All right. Um, so just to show you how close things are, I remember I was talking to my mother, and I said, "Ma, what did you learn from your grandmother?" Because when my mother was a young girl, she ended up running away because of some instances that had happened. She was 12, but she went to live with her maternal grandmother. All right, grandmother and grandfather,
Mm.
Grandpa Ross and Grandma Ross. Well, I was talking to her about her grandmother, and I said, "What did you learn from your grandmother as far as being a woman, being a lady, growing up? You were 12, 13, 14 under her. What did you learn from her?" Because I know that I was a recipient of what she may have learned from her grandmother and also her grandfather and stuff like that. So she told me some of the things that she learned, but it dawned on me. The woman that taught her how to be a woman in that whole thing, her grandmother, was Hattie Mae Richard. Hattie Mae Richard's mother was born in 1864. This is literally before slavery was abolished.
Wow.
The woman who raised, the woman who taught my mother as a young lady was born before slavery was abolished. You
Wow.
understand? That's how close we are to those generations. That's one. Um, Secondly, there's a number of generations from Adam Clayton Powell on down that fought for when they had the Immigration Act. They fought for black people who looked like you and me to come to America. Because what was happening was America was letting in
The
the
Irish.
Italians, the French, they're letting in the Irish, they're letting in and what was happening was with the Immigration Act, we weren't seeing our brothers and sisters from coming out of Jamaica, our brothers and sisters coming out of Trinidad, Guyana. We're not seeing our brothers and sisters coming out of Nigeria and stuff because America was they were kind of oppressing that. They were kind of leaving them out of that. And so there was a lot of movements here in America that was designed to try to get our brothers and sisters from these various places here and say you can't discriminate against the brothers and sisters coming out of Africa to come into America. You can't discriminate against the brothers and sisters coming out of the Caribbean to come to America. We want them here. Those are our brothers. Those are our sisters, and they came in. And over a period of time, we all kind of integrated into that one big Pan-African American, great Black group of people, that we are today. But it was a lot. It was a lot that the brothers and sisters here in America, brothers and sisters that are Black Americans, really went through in order to put certain things in place, to get those things in place. And then then everyone else comes over and we get together and we just become like this super group. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm saying that to say that two things. When you are in an abusive relationship and the relationship seems to be over, but the person's still stalking you. The person is still making a, oh, he's coming down there to get that job. You tell him no. Tell him. You think you're out of the relationship, but you're still in the relationship. The person is actually still. So those types of things are going on. And what happens is the people who've been in the relationship for a long time are peeping it. That's what's going on. This is what it is. That's what's happening. This is what's going to happen. Blah, blah, blah. And then there's also been this thing where when our brothers and sisters come over from different countries, there's been this thing where it's kind of like, stay away from the Black Americans.
I got the talk when I flew over to college because you don't want to get into trouble, especially because
there you go. And so the thing becomes, as long as you stay away from them, you'll be fine. But technically, because you get over here with us, we're gonna say, hey, come here. Let me tell you what they're doing. Let me tell you what they're doing, bro. We trying to, you know what I'm saying? And so it's like this, man. It's like this, different people, as long as they think they're separate, they can't do this, then they can't do that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, it's a true reality. And because, even when they do the stats and they say Nigerian Americans are, are one of the highest educated people in the whole of America. So what happens is, let's stick to our community. So the Ghanaians and the Nigerians and the Africans say, we need to. I admit, when I was in college in Wisconsin, and it was Milwaukee. Yeah, I didn't. I left to Alabama. Yeah. It was and Mayor Smitherman, who was the mayor during the Selma March, he was still the mayor when I was down there in '92. Mm-hmm. So he was related. And I asked my uncle. I said, "Wait, how can this old guy, who was openly oppressing Black vote, was there stopping the march across Selma? How can he still the mayor in '92?" And what my uncle said is, well, what happens is when a prominent Black man would come against him, they would then bring out their own Black guy, and then they'll split the Black votes, and he'll get his votes. And so, but being in Alabama, I felt safe because I knew that if someone didn't like me, they would say it. So I felt really at home. I go to Milwaukee, and it was, no insult to Milwaukee, but I went to Milwaukee, and it was, I couldn't tell, because they would smile in with one face but turn away in the other, and I felt, wow, the Midwest didn't feel safe to me because I needed people to be open. If you don't like me, that's cool. I move away. But and so what happens is in college, all the African, my people who are from Zimbabwe, Namibia, Congo, Ethiopia, we were like a pack. We just hung out together. We were like, this is the safest way because we know how to talk, even though different cultures and language. But we had this sense of we're in it together. We'll look after each other and stuff like that. We couldn't trust anybody because we didn't know which way to go. I'm hoping this is because that was in the early '90s. I'm hoping things have changed where those who are second generation Africans are feeling a lot more American and being more integrated in society.
Yeah. No, listen, maybe, because a lot of my friends, man, a lot of my brothers and sisters come out of Ghana. A lot of my brothers and sisters come out of Nigeria. A lot of my brothers and sisters come out of the Caribbean. And a lot of my brothers and sisters come from the American North, the American South, the American Midwest, and the American West Coast. All right. Shout out to all of my brothers and sisters over on the West Coast. So here's the interesting thing. You see how you said it was yourself and some of the other brothers and sisters from the continent.
Yeah.
So the thinking is this: you in let's say it's a group of you. Let's say it's three of you.
Yeah.
You happen to be walking up the block, and then there's another group. They all come from Queens. Guys like myself, and we all walking up the block, and then we get to the corner, and we're all standing together, waiting for the light to change. Cops run up. They're not gonna say, "Hold on, which one of y'all is from America and which one is y'all from Africa? Which one is y'all from the Caribbean?" Y'all go ahead. So the thing is, the racist cop who does that understands more so than us. But it's the same. Like it's like yo, you have your foot on George Floyd's neck. And it's like, while I'm doing this, can somebody check his background? Can somebody see if he was born here or not? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like it's so the thing is, what we have to realize is that we're talking about the different places that were colonized, and where the boat dropped us off. That's it. Like, so in Louisiana, we were, and I'm saying we because of my parents, colonized by the French. All right. And then the French had the Senegal, right? Like the
Yeah,
French,
They I went to Senegal and some of the
Senegal,
West African places. Yeah, Mali. Yeah,
Mali. You have the French are there.
yeah.
Simultaneously, they're in Haiti. All right. So 3 different black places underneath the hand of colonialism and slavery of the same group of people, the same government. That particular government understands they're dealing with the same people. It's just in 3 different places. What we have to not do is look at it and say, I'm different, you're different, you're different. Now we may speak different languages. You may, this person to say, what's the difference between a person from a black person from this place and a black person from this place? We cook our chicken this way. They cook their chicken that, I mean, cool. Like we have different ways of doing things. They say the word something wrong. They say something, and then we'll say, yeah, man, what's wrong with him? Everybody know the word is something. You know what I'm saying? But in both instances, what we're doing is we're taking Africanized, linguistics, and we're kind of adding it to whatever. So my point is, we have to understand. As long as we get our understanding, I don't care what anybody else thinks.
Yeah, yeah. And actually, that was one of the things that I noticed when I moved to LA, is that when you saw somebody who was like yourself, it was like, what's up, and you there was that connection. And I actually remember moving to the UK and doing that, and they're like, well, I don't know you. I was kind of walking off like that. But no, they felt like that. I think the longer I was out there, the more I felt like, look, I need to stretch out and connect. I see someone like a Michael Jackson after he did the Dangerous album. He did the Remember the Time, and he sort of Soul Train Awards. And when all this stuff was happening, the community says, "Now we got you, man." And I think he felt the love. And even when he had this situation with Sony, he went back to Al Sharpton and the community, said that, we got you, Mike. We understand what's going on. And I think that there was a recognition that actually, people have been here fighting this battle for a long time, and you need to, they know a lot more. Yes, I might seem a little bit less threatening in the workplace because I'm, coming out of a place, maybe the UK or Nigeria, where things are much tougher, and you just see the constant electricity, and you see the roads are smooth. you're like, wow, this is amazing. And somebody says, get to the back line. Yeah, that's fine. It's actually better than the front of the line where I've just come from. So you kind of like, yeah, and so what happens is they see that and say, oh, okay, there's you're not fighting for anything. You seem to be chill. So they're more likely. As there was this guy, Emmanuel something Ocho. I did,
Okay.
the I think he does sports and stuff.
Ocho
Emma,
Cinco?
is it Emmanuel Ocho? Yeah, I can't remember his name now. Emmanuel
I know
something.
you're talking about. I know you're talking about, but go ahead.
Yeah,
I
he
got
had
you.
a because his heritage. His parents are Nigerian,
Yes.
and he went on a podcast to say actually, one of the things because we don't have the baggage as those who are coming first generation Nigerians because there's a sense of our culture and identity. We seem to be less threatening to, say, the white population,
Yeah.
and hence they're more like they seem to be a lot more likely to welcome us in because we're not coming with the okay, we're ready to fight, and you guys have 400 years kind of thing. Now he said that, and I could relate and understand because I didn't. I saw when I moved to LA, I actually doors were opening because I didn't have the stuff that my friends out in Selma were facing, and I'm just like, hey man, this is great. This compared to where I just finished, this is a great place. But I guess it's the hope is because now there's the generations of Nigerians and others there that there's a sense of actually we need to work together. We need to be able to learn what they've gone through, but also teach them how we do. Like, yeah, it's happened. How do we now say, okay, use it for our fuel and stuff? Yeah. So yes, it's Emmanuel Ocho.
Yeah.
Somebody just put it in there.
Yeah. That's my very good friend Angelica Beener. She's legendary, man.
Okay.
Y'all got to check her out. She does all these great things as a journalist, and she's amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Okay.
Angelica. But yes, um, great point. And you're right, because you might come in and you might say something might happen. And you say, well, the guy didn't mean anything by it. He's a nice guy. He didn't mean anything by it. Me, I'm like, oh, I see what you're doing, brother. You're doing the same thing. You take it from the playbook of from when you did the Mega Evers, and it's like, you know what? Come get him. He knows. He knows. Come get him. Come get him. You know what I'm saying? But but the thing is that you're right. That plays into it. That's part of stay away from those Black Americans. Just stay away from those guys. Stay away from them. You know what I'm saying? Because you're gonna kind of get them thinking a certain kind of way and so on and so forth. But I think ultimately, when you look at the history here in America, dating all the way back from however long we've been here, there's history that says, many Black people have been here prior to, like Abu Bakr and his ships coming out of West Africa into America prior to 1492, two's voyage. And there's been trade between, the brothers and sisters in West Africa and also here prior to European touching down here. But the vast majority of us, we're talking about triangular slave trade, so on and so forth. And within that, what's a part of that is survival, struggle. There's the guy Mary Baraka, the great poet and author, and prior to that, Leroy Jones is what they called him, but he had a book called Blues People. And what we talk about is we talk about the fact that the resilience of Black people here, like we should have been
Mm,
gone, we should have been wiped out,
mm,
but here we are creating the light bulb. Here we are creating a doorknob. Here we are creating a refrigerator. Here we are creating all these things that then go all throughout the course of the world. But when it goes throughout the course of the world and it's in another country, people look at it and say that came out of America, not that came out of a Black mind. You know what I'm saying?
mm,
And this is the Black mind that is helping to shape the entire world, not just the music, you know what I'm saying, but the literature, the invention, then also the music, in that kind of thing, the art, so to speak. So we've been making a serious mark, not only in America, but throughout the world for a long time. But what happens is oftentimes when people come into the country, no matter who they are, we haven't been getting our props. We haven't been getting our respect. here in America. So no one's going to tell a person, every time you stop at a stoplight, like that's a that, right? Like nobody's doing that. So what happens is we don't get the credit here. So why would a person that came out of Nigeria or anywhere, how would they know? Because we're
Yeah.
not even getting the credit here. So a person would know. We just sit around looking like we just worthless, not just sitting in America, just waiting for somebody to come and do something for us. But come to find out, we've been masterminding so many different things. And I think it's something to be proud of. So I think
Mm.
when people come from the Caribbean, they come from Nigeria, we look at the Caribbean and say, look at what they've done over there. We look in the continent and say, man, look at what the brothers and sisters have done over there. And then they come here and we could all say, look at what we've been doing with
Yeah.
the world. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And let's kind of come together and let's continue to do big things and bigger things and bigger things and realize that we are a global people. If you are looking at yourself as just a small sect of something, you're going to get only but so much done. If you see yourself as not only a global people, but you see yourself as an ancient people, you can put yourself in a position to where it's like, all right, it's not this, it's this, and then it's like, boom.
Mm.
You know?
Yeah. I think that's the one thing that um, even us in the continent of Africa, here in the UK, we find it hard to unite. Um, there's one thing I admire about those who are Jewish. There is the sense of, yep, okay, you need. I remember I worked at Edmunds Entertainment back in 2002, and one of the guys, one of the assistants there, he said, yeah, his dad's a dentist, lives in Beverly Hills. So the job was like, yeah, just take your time, decide what you want. And he says, yeah, when I'm ready, I might get a job in Hollywood, or they'll set me up in a record label. But I just want to take time out, and I'm just hanging out there. And I was like, wow, goodness, connections, doors were opening.
Mm-hmm.
Indians, that's something that they're really good at. One person comes in, it's like, you want to shut up a shop, gets three other people, give the money. So we're not going to the bank. We're going to lend it to you. You build it up. You pay on us back,
Yeah.
and they grow as a strong community, and they keep quiet. The Chinese do sin, but even as blacks, and this is not just Americans. I'm talking about us in Africa stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We struggle with that sense of, yeah, let's, if I help you, you're going to help somebody else, and as a community we can support. I think that happened in Oklahoma, and that's why they got burnt down. I think that felt as if that was the situation, that they were supporting themselves, and maybe that was why we need to break that chain. But I don't know why, and maybe there's still a scar with that. Actually, some of us, both in Africa, sowed some the rest of us over. It's like they didn't just come in and go into point and just take people. He was like, "Hey, we need to buy some of your people." Yeah, yeah, sure, sure. Here's some people. So that sense of, oh, we can't trust one. I don't know, and unfortunately, that seems to be holding us. Music
Yeah.
industry. You've been in the industry. You get in, you get your own people rip you off. It's like,
So let me talk about that. First of all, you brought up Oklahoma. Shout out to the Gap Band. All right. Greensboro, Archer, and Pine. Do you know that, right?
I think I heard it recently. Yeah.
The Gap Band, they're from where Black Wall Street was. And then named the Gap Band GAP because of those
Wow.
streets that were in Black Wall Street, Greensboro, Archer, and Pine. Um, now, Black Wall Street. Black Wall Street happened during a time. There are generations of Black people, and I'll speak about here just for now. There's generations and generations and generations and generations of Black people here in America. And I'm saying Black just so that everyone can understand what I'm saying. There are many different things I could say. There are some people want us to say indigenous, some people want us to say African, some people want us to say African American, some people want us to say, I'm just going to say Black so that we can bring it all in. We all know what we're talking about. It doesn't bother me, actually. Black doesn't bother me at all. So, but here's what I'll say. there were generations and generations and generations of Black people here in America that got that understood that what they were doing and the sacrifices that they were making, they were probably not going to enjoy themselves right here and right now. It's going to be for generations to come. This is how we saw so many generations giving their lives. This is how we saw so many generations staring down the barrel of a gun, being killed, being beaten, being lynched. They knew that what they were doing was not for themselves. It wasn't for their own comfort. It was for generations to come. It was for maybe the next generation, or maybe 2 generations down, 3, 4 generations down. We are benefiting. We stand on the shoulders of people who, in their mind, they weren't thinking about themselves. They were thinking down the line. They were literally sacrificing for those down the line. That's part of what we're talking about here. When you ask that question about us getting together, we're talking about a mentality that says, I'm going to sacrifice something in order to help the next person. Some of what I'm going to do, I'm not going to be the beneficiary of. Someone else is going to be the beneficiary of that, whether it be somebody from another family, another whatever the case may be, or down the line, your children, so on and so forth. I think there is a direct period of time where a lot of that begin to change in our community. Also, there is a lack of Pan-Africanism. So I have back here Booker T. Washington, Pan-Africanist, W.E.B. Du Bois, Pan-Africanist, Marcus Garvey, Pan-Africanist. There were these people who had the idea where they understood that Black people anywhere and Black people everywhere are somehow connected. So we need to all kind of do this kind of thing. That was understood. That had been understood. We're talking about the 20s. With Booker T, we're talking about as early as the 1890s. So this is a concept that has existed for a long time, that kind of thing. What we see today is we see an infiltration of that thought process. We see an infiltration of the process of Black people saying, we're going to work together. We're going to do a thing that's not going to necessarily benefit you and have immediate gratification, but it's going to benefit somebody else. It's going to benefit another generation. That is something that's not front and center with us today as much as it should be, but it was once upon a time. Now, historically speaking, when it comes to the brothers and sisters, let me see again, man. Yes. I was reading somebody's comments. There's some really, really good comments up here.
Yeah.
I want to go through these comments. Can we do after a while? When we get a second? Okay, cool. So I'll continue this and then we'll go through the comments. So so when you talk about Black people selling one another during slavery, we have to be very careful as to how we preface that, because what's happening is people are looking at these very different people from these very different groups, these very different ethnic groups, these very different countries, so to speak. I know that was diced up by Europe, but we're talking about very different people. We've seen Europe war against Europe. We've seen Europe enslave Europe. We've seen Europe sell Europe into slavery. We've seen the Portuguese. We've seen the world wars. We've seen the scramble for Africa. We've seen the Portuguese, the Spanish, the French, the German. We've seen the English, the whole Britain. We've seen everybody be at war with one another, so on and so forth. They didn't all look at each other and say, we're all Europeans, because the thing about it is, in some instances, the word Europe didn't even exist. In certain instances, depending on what part of history we're talking about. Just like we're talking about in Africa, we're talking about groups of people. We're talking about various groups of people. Over a period of time, we had Pan-Africanism, where we're looking at the entire continent as one group of Black people, per se, or you're looking at the entire continent of Europe and saying, these are all white people. But historically in the world, that's not how it was. We're talking about those people over there that speak a different language, have different customs, do all types of different things. We can't even communicate. So now when you come into Africa as whether you be the Portuguese or whether you be the Dutch or whoever, and you say, I'm looking for a slave. It's not like, hey, come and take Uncle George here. You know what I'm saying? It's more like, there are instances, there's a few books I have here that we can, talk about, but ultimately we're talking about, do you have criminals here? Do you have people here that have, been nefarious, or do you have any enemies or whatever? We need slaves. It's you or them. They're foreigners at the time. This is what we're talking about. So now later on, we kind of, paint it with this broad brush, as we say, the Africans sold the Africans. Well, we don't say the Europeans did this to the Europeans. We don't necessarily do that. We say the Greek were at war with the Romans, and then the Romans took over the Greek. You know what I'm saying? We say that. We give them the dignity of giving them the identity of who they are, but we have to give the identity to these people from these very different places in Africa in a very ancient time, in a long time ago. Now we can look at it and say, all right, Pan-Africanism, let's get on the same page, no matter whether we're speaking different languages, so on and so forth. We have a commonality, we have a common enemy, it's an enslaver. So now we can kind of come together and do that. So that's what I wanted to be clear about.
You wanted to go through some of the comments you said?
I do. I want to say what's up to Cornelia, and I want to say what's up to, I said, Angelica. I want to say what up to my homegirl Rose and Ra and Keena, and I want to say what up to Chandra, and oh man, I see a lot of people. My mind, Taiwan Green. There's some legendary people on here, man. There's some people on here that are really, really, really legendary. But yes. So I'm looking at these. We retire music over here, and other countries pick up and go crazy with it. Yo, do you know the song that Morris and Slick had, the band that I was in? Happy Ending. Have you ever heard that?
No.
Oh man, you got to find it. So what happened was we found that I got to shout out to Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. We did this song with Jimmy and Terry. Come to find out, it's a big hit in Brazil, and they have like whole routines that like the whole party does, like the whole routine to like this song. I didn't even know it was really out there like that because we never really released it. Had an official release. To it. Shout out to the Bullets Gotti show. Angelica says, yes, so timely that you bring up Oklahoma. Supreme Court just ruled against the survivors of the Tulsa massacre. This is a great timely discussion. We must talk about this. See, it's things like that that lets you know the past ain't so long ago. And I think that's one of the things that we understand is we understand that it's like the past is not that long ago. In fact, check this out. W.E.B. Du Bois died the day before Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King's March on Washington. All right? The day before. This is W.E.B. Du Bois. Now, W.E.B. Du Bois was born 3 years after Abraham Lincoln was killed. All right? This is the Abraham Lincoln who freed the slaves. So let's put it in context. 3 years after Abraham Lincoln was killed, W.E.B. Du Bois was born. 3 years after W.E.B. Du Bois died, Janet Jackson was born.
Oh, wow.
That's how, see, the past is not that long ago. And this Tulsa thing right here is something that we need to discuss and something that we need to talk about, because that's the template. There were a number of Tulsas. There were other places. That's the poster child, Black Wall Street. But there were other places all throughout the course of America where we had these things happening. These Black communities with economic systems. There was, we got to talk about the Black church. There was about, I think it was about 7 churches in Black Wall Street. Well, basically the way it was at that time was if you have a new business and you say, I just opened a law practice around the corner. You go in front of the church in Black Wall Street and you say, this is, we've just opened it. That day you have clients, you have clientele, you have a whole clientele. We've just opened the supermarket. You announce it, you have these congregations, clientele. That's how so many movements started. The abolitionist movement, it came. So a lot of times people make the mistake of looking at the Black church as simply a religious place, whereas it's also served as an institution for economics and an institution for everything else. So many different things. All right. And what happens is, just like everything, it's kind of like when you look at hip hop, there's all of these great minds in hip hop, but the camera and the focus ultimately ends up on people who behave badly. Right. And then we say, how them rappers are. Right. And so this happens with Black people in every particular way. And I think that the institution that the institution of the Black church, but what we built as institutions like Black Wall Street, that's what we're trying to do right now. We're trying to get to that now. We're trying to take today in 2024, we're trying to do what they did 100 years ago, and we're having an issue doing it. So there's some type of reverence that we need to do. We need to study the brothers and sisters that got it done before, because there's something about what they're doing. There's something we're not doing. There are also new things that have been welcomed into society that didn't exist back then, that are now new obstacles that we have to, figure out and stuff. But we have to want to do things that we may not benefit from personally, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's very hard to be that selfless to say, I'm going to put my life down like that they did in the 50s and the 60s so that somebody else could to benefit. I mean, that's in a material world like now. I mean, you probably lay your life down for your kids,
Right.
maybe a parent, but yeah, it's for somebody else. You
Yeah.
know,
It's
it's
like,
not.
listen, it's like at this point now, it's like your friend comes to you and like, yo, man, they after me. And you like, well, what did you do? What did
Yeah, it's like okay, I'm here with you now.
no,
Yeah,
but the thing is, but you ha- we have to love us
yeah,
first and foremost. We have to love us. And we have to stop. I'm gonna use this buzzword. We have to stop othering one another. We have to stop putting ourselves in a position, well, he's a southerner, I'm a northerner, you
yeah,
know, he's Caribbean, I'm blah blah blah. There's nothing wrong with celebrating your heritage from the direct lineage of what it is, the people that you come from. There's nothing wrong with saying, yo, I'm from Barbados. Let's talk about the contributions of the Barbadian or the Bayesian community.
mm,
Let's talk about that. Let's celebrate that. I am from Guyana. Let's celebrate Ivan Van Sertima, and let's celebrate these people. I am Black American. Let us celebrate that line and lineage. There's a way to do that, like walking and chewing gum. There's a way to do that without throwing the next person under the bus.
yeah,
You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah.
Um,
And I
yeah,
think that's just one of the things that if I can look back my own experience, is the fact that when I saw the other people, as I said, somebody was from Zaire, somebody was from Zimbabwe, somebody was from Ethiopia. We different language, different cultures, but we felt okay. We're strangers here. Let's connect, and
yeah,
we know what it's like in different places. And we learned about each other's culture, ate their food, laughed and joked about stereotypes, but we felt like we could trust one another.
yeah,
And I think, and this was, as I said, this was in the mid 90s. I think yeah, there. I'm hoping that there is that shift where we are appreciating other people.
yeah.
Because if I look at what I remember working. I've got a first job outside college, and it was a sort of a white, sort of male dominated sort of office environment.
Mhm.
And I managed, I moved in. Then we had this guy who came from Chicago, and he was struggling, and he was like, man, this is not working for me. And I said, look, man, we need to stay in this, because if we can make it, it opens the door for, they say, oh, these brothers actually can work in this environment, and
Yeah,
opens the door for the others. And for some strange reason, I'm like, I'm gonna stay here, because I know that if somebody else comes in, they're gonna need to see somebody that looks like them,
yeah,
and still be able to mingle and shift in there. But I had to understand, yes, as you said, you have history of people who were saying, your dad and your granddad could say, yeah, when they used to beat us with the batons, and how we and the clan running away from the clan, and that's still fresh. I mean, Nigeria had a civil war in the 60s. My dad, I hear those stories, and I still get a little round up a little bit when I hear that. But if if he was telling me about he couldn't sit at the back of the bus, and uh, you know no Negroes allowed. I mean, that's hard. Yeah, I watched the film, but to see that that's actually happened,
yeah,
that is a hard thing
yeah,
to be able to endure.
yeah, yeah.
But my big thing then becomes, you know, in the music industry,
Yep.
I was listening to an interview that's Simon Cowell. I don't know if you know Simon Cowell. He does America's
Of
Got
course.
Talent.
Yeah.
He was talking about how he got his break into the entertainment industry. He had a big record. It went well. He was living large, but he owed the bank £500,000.
Mm-hmm.
That's that's worth about $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
They came after him. He
Mm-hmm.
says, "Well, I have no money. You can bankrupt me."
Mm-hmm.
He went to another bank, and the other bank says, "I believe in you, so I'm going to lend you the money to pay off the other places."
How
This
lovely.
guy had no money, but all he he was like, "Wait a minute, who does that? Who just says?" And then he says, George Michael's lawyer says, "I'm going to help you get a label deal with BMI
How
because I
lovely.
believe in you." I'm listening to his story, and that fascinating story, but I'm like, but how many of us would would a multi-million-dollar lawyer say, "I think there's something in you that I really want to, so you don't have to pay me. I'm going to help you get a label deal and help you set it up. And when you make it big, then you can hire me." I, I'm listening to a story that's fascinating as it is, and think that doesn't happen to to everyone. They don't give you deals. They don't teach you the business up front. You know, and that's the sad thing is those of us within the industry, you know, won't sign you and say, "Okay, Tone, I'm going to show you how contracts are on the business side, so make sure you're covered and safe." Because as you become successful, you can let others come in, and we can really build this black music thing. It seems like I don't know how long I've got before they find me out, so I'm going to steal all your money, and then when you set up a label, steal their money, and then you know that's it. Do you see there's hope for us in the music industry?
All right. Let's deal with it. Let's deal with it. So, um, Simon Cowell, man, Simon, you're bankrupt, you're broke. We see something in you. Let's throw the bank at you. Said no black man ever. That's a whole different. I don't relate. I
Yes.
don't relate to that. I do not relate. But here's what I'll say. What I'll say is this. I've met different types of people in the music industry. I have met, shout out to my man, Mr. Fingers, who's on here. That's my guy, one of my very best friends, Taiwan Green. Um, one of the very few, well, you know what? I didn't meet him through the music industry. I met him through a a mutual friend, you know, in high school. So I will say that we were both in the music industry, but I didn't meet him through the music industry. I got to be clear about that. But there are certain people, I'm using him as an example, you know, and a lot of other friends of mine who represent a type of person that's in the music industry. I said the magic word, yeah. I've been waiting for the magic word. Um, so so these are people who are not capitalists. All right. So when you're a capitalist in the music industry, you only see dollar signs when you see a person. When you see a person, it's not a person. That's a bag. You know, when you hear a song, it's not sentiment, it's not culture, it's a bag. All right. So whatever you need to tell that artist to change, whatever you need to tell that producer to do in order to get that bag, do that. You know what I'm saying? And no matter what that girl needs to wear, no matter what that dude needs to do, listen, if you need to act like, you know, you a hardened criminal, that's what we're going to do. That's how we're going to be able to sell you. You know, if you want to, you know, listen, we're going to get you a job at the strip club, sweetheart, and you're going to get on the pole right quick and then come back out. And then we'll say, all right, she's an ex-stripper and now she's a rapper. Let's go. You know what I'm saying? You're going to love her, you know, but the thing becomes money. So as long as there's a person in the game that the bottom line is the main thing, because what you're talking about, like for instance, when the guy said, Simon, come on, you know, I believe in you, that person was willing to take a loss. One. Two, that person may have not even had a boss. Literally not had a boss. You know what I'm saying? Like, So here we have some people you run into, and they're doing whatever they need to do just to keep their job. That's it. Because they're coming out of a community that has not. They're coming out of a low income community. They're coming out of these communities where the jobs and the opportunities are very minuscule. So it becomes, I'm in this music industry, but I am trying to do all the things that's going to allow me to keep my job. That means I'm going to look at the chart and I'm going to say, everybody's talking about blank. That's what I need you to talk about. Everybody's doing blank. That's what I need you to do. All right. I'm going to literally play it as safe as possible because playing it safe is going to allow me to keep my job. So we'll see a lot of survival mode by people that's operating. So they're not taking that opportunity. They have a boss who they could be fired immediately. They are playing there in survival mode and they're trying to keep their job. These are the people who are not going to operate as a visionary. They're not going to take a chance. They're not going to do anything that's going to jeopardize that. And they ain't going to let you do nothing to jeopardize. They be the first person, get out of here, because sorry, boss. I know he started talking that black stuff. Yeah, he made you uncomfortable, right? Yeah, he's not anymore. Yeah, I don't like him either. But that's that person. But then there's that person that's in there, and it is about the culture. It is about the art. It is about taking a chance. It is about being a visionary. It is about saying, I believe in this. I'm going to fight for this. You have less and less and less of those people and more people that got into it, not because they care about the culture per se, but this is going to be a lifestyle change. This is going to allow me to drive what I want to drive. This is going to allow me to get all the girls, live in the community that I want to live in. It's going to allow me to take the trips that I want to take, to wear the jewelry that I want to wear, to be able to have a money phone, to be able to go online and say, this is what I'm doing, and yada, yada, yada. So there are people who get into music for the purpose of lifestyle. That person is not your ally. That person is not your ally at all. You know what I'm saying? Unless you're just going to do whatever it is that they're asking you to do so that the bag can be gotten, so on and so forth. But a person like you who cares about the culture, myself and these people who are right here on this live with us, these are the types of people who care about the actual culture. Shout out to Marvin Gaye, man. You know what I'm saying? That's the culture we talking about here. So we care about that. And those types of people are oftentimes going indie, going independent. They're doing their own thing because they're knocking on doors and they're saying, listen, y'all, there is a way that middle America or white America sees black women. They are loud, they are angry, they are overly sexualized. There's a way that middle America or white people in middle America see black men. They are dangerous, they are not smart, they are brutes, they are on drugs. All right? These are self-destructive people. If you can bring us a product that represents that, we can have you sell millions of records because you're an easy sell. But if you start doing stuff that doesn't fall in line with the stereotype of what people think black people are, then you're trying to buck the system. Who are you to try to come in here who are you to try to tell me, a white man, how black people are? Like, who are you to tell me that? You know what I'm saying? And here we are, understanding that we are not a monolith. We have every different type of black person that could possibly exist in humanity. All of that exists, but if we look at television, we're drug kingpins. We're all strippers. We're all gonna shoot you. We're all gonna kill you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now, my point is, with us, we have to align ourselves with the people who care about the actual culture and not necessarily just the lifestyle that may come with a hit or a bunch of hit records,
Yeah, I mean, I know that if I change my channel to become talk about the gossip and the feud, the YouTube's analytics will say, okay, this sounds like it just seems strange. If you just focus on the whatever happened and oh, did you know this? It's like, okay, yeah, we'll help you with that. It seems as if, but when you start to focus on, hey, let's celebrate, it's like, yeah, it's not really what we want to really be pushing and stuff. But
You and
yeah,
me, you and me both, brother. You and me both.
I remember listening to an interview with Steve Rifkin. I think
Mhm.
he had Loud Records. I don't,
Mhm. Yep.
and he said, I think he was on Quest, and he said that he was working in promotions,
Mhm.
and his uncle calls him in and says, "Hey, um, we want to help you. We want to start to help you start up a record label." And he says, "Well, I don't really want a record label." And then he gets a call back. I think his uncle, his cousin said, "Yeah, we want us to help you set up a record label." And he says, "No, I don't think so. I love my promotion stuff." Then he gets a call from his granddad or his dad. He says, "Don't you ever turn down a free opportunity, an opportunity like that." So he goes and forcefully has to start a record, and he's does the record label, does well. He gets a call from another family member saying, "Hey, do you want to come and produce a movie?" He says, "Oh, I don't know anything about producing a movie." "Yeah, you don't need to. Just come over here." It, and he's telling this stuff, and I'm like, "What?" And no hate. It's like that's really great that you have connections that somebody could just say, "Do you want to be a movie producer and stuff?" Yeah, yeah. Dallas Austin said that he couldn't get Drumline made because they told him if you want to get it made, you need to have somebody who's Jewish on the project.
Mhm.
So he remembered. He said, "Who do I know is Jewish? Oh, my publicist is Jewish." And then
Mhm.
she says, "Yeah, yeah, I'll help you do it, but I'll make the money, and I'll take the billing, and you can be an associate producer." But and he was like, "Well, I'm so passionate to get this movie made, I had to do that."
Mhm.
Quincy Jones couldn't get Color Purple made until he got Steven Spielberg to direct,
Mhm.
and it's like, wow, it's like this is what happens when you work as a community
Mhm.
and you open doors for others,
Yeah.
and then you keep opening those doors instead of what sadly happened when the 80s and these labels, and then you had the Gene Griffins and all these people who were like senior talent ripping you off, and then it meant that you were starring instead of building up, instead of saying, "I'm going to help you out because as it just helps us as a community." Not everyone was like a Clown Savant who was, "Okay, I'm going to set you up, Jimmy and Terry. I'm going to set you up, Ellie and Babyface."
Listen. So let me get in here for a second.
Yes.
Yo, you hit the nail on the head. So Clarence Avant comes from music. Clarence Avant is a musical mind. He is literally he was a marketing genius. He was just someone, he just had the vision. He was just brilliant. Clarence Avant. I have a story about him. I did I tell this story last time about Clarence Avant?
Oh
No?
no, no, maybe.
I talked about him. So me and shout out to Brian, man. Shout out to Bezo. We were in a when we were on Motown. Clarence Avant was at Polygram. They were over Motown.
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay.
he was at tight. He was up way up top. Clarence.
Wow.
So we get on the elevator, and Brian says, "Yo, that's Clarence Avant." So he's kind of like, Andre Harrell was the top for us, but
Yeah.
Clarence Avant was up there. We said, "Oh, there's Mr. Avant." So we get on the elevator, and the album wasn't out yet. The project wasn't out yet. It was just circulating through the label, and people were excited about it. So Clarence Avant, he pressed his number, and we said, Brian said, "Hey man, what's going on? I'm Brian. You know, this is Tom." He's like, "This is Tom from Ladae." And he said, "From where?" And we said Ladae, and he said, "They never heard of you." So we said, "All right." He was like, "Yo, man." He said, "All right, cool, cool." And so it was quiet. And then he thought for a second. He said, "Where you say you were from again?" And we said Ladae. He said, "Is that Albie Shores thing?" We said, "Yeah." He said, "Oh, yeah, I listened to that. I just was listening to that yesterday." And so we said, Brian was like, "Yo, to think about it." He was like, "It's all right." So so we just watching the numbers. He was like, "It was all right." He said, "You know, yeah." He said, I like what y'all are doing." He said, "It could use a little more grease, but that's about it." And then he got off the elevator, and he said, what he meant by more grease, he said the same thing to Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis years ago, was basically let the soul come out, like do what you do, like don't hold back. Like he heard that. Like he was like, man, you guys sound polished, but I think that there's something else that you can bring to the table that you're not doing. I was like, yo, say no more. That gave birth to what ultimately became the group Mars and Slick that when we got with Jimmy and Terry, that was Clarence Avant. That was his fingerprint on that. But he was that type. What happened with us in our communities was we had the executives coming out of our communities in the artists. Let's put that in one column: executives and artists. So let's say the executives. Let's say take my borough for instance. We would have the Marley Marls. We would have the uh, Russell Simmonses. We would have the Herbie Love Bugs, and these people that had these different crews and cliques. And then even prior to that, Fatback Band. We had all these various people. Ultimately, at that same time, there was another lane. All right, in the other lane was drug dealers, hustlers from the neighborhood. So I ain't gonna call no names, but it was a bunch from my neighborhood that they weren't in music. They were just in the streets. What ultimately happened was hip hop started making, I'm truncating this, but hip hop started making so much more money because at some point they were making more money than the rappers and the executives. At some point, the rappers started making more money. Many of them got caught up into the war on drugs, went in jail, came out, so on and so forth. We started seeing an influx of the street hustler becoming the executive, signing rappers and getting behind all of that. We saw a lot of that happen.
So even the ones who bragged
Big,
about they used
big
to
part.
hustle and stuff, they used to, so they weren't even hiding the fact that they came from the streets, they were hustling, and they thought, we can launder our money within the music industry.
Well, part of it was, we're gonna come into the music industry, and that's gonna be our new hustle. Our new drug is gonna be, instead of the drug, it's gonna be the artist. It's gonna be this person who raps. That's the drug. That's what we're selling. So we're going legit, basically, is what they're saying. we're going legit. In the product is the artist. The product is the producer. The product is this whole thing. And we saw an influx of that, begin to happen as well. All right. And so the bottom line really was money. That's the bottom line. Like the bottom line was money at a certain point. And then to your point, where did the Clarence Avons go? Where did those types of people go? Those types of people came into the business and they had to kind of do these deals, whereas these drug dealers were coming into the business with their own money and saying, we're going to shoot the whole video. We're going to put the whole project out and we're going to do it independently, and that kind of started sweeping through our community, as well.
And the other thing Simon said was the group One Direction. He said his biggest regret is that he gave them the name and almost didn't even tie them up to a 7 album deal, and all of them collectively had to be signed to him. It's like, I've opened a door. Here's your name. They blow up and they become multimillionaires, and it's like, but then how come our artists don't get those opportunities, don't get those label deals, don't get those, the ability to own their name and get, to become an Ed Sheeran and stuff like that. It just seems. I mean, it took someone like Michael to him to really, he worked from a child, so it wasn't like he just came out as a 12, 15, 20 year old and did off the wall. I mean, he'd been hustling since he was a kid, so he's worked hard on that. So uh, you may say Beyonce, but it's just, Prince. But Prince has gone through so much, and he lamented about how they took all his stuff. But what do you think? You signed a deal and stuff. You spoke about your lawyers, that our executives aren't saying, let's give you not just a fair deal, a great deal, so that actually when you're successful, we're successful, and we can launch out. I'm talking, I'm not, I mean, what you got first-hand experience, so you should. I mean, whether it's Motown or Uptown or LaFace or
Man, this would be a beautiful world if people said, let's be fair. Let's just be fair. You know, Imagine, imagine how politics would be. You all, voted for me. Let's let's do the fair thing, like for everybody. Let's just be fair. Yo, that would be crazy. Like that's a crazy concept when you think about it. That would really be amazing if everything was just fair. I would love that. I try to operate that way. I try to be fair. My aim is always to be fair with everybody and with everything I do. And I have done like business with, let's say, Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, and it's been fair. You know what I'm saying? I've met that person, who is like, let's do things fairly. The music business is designed to say, I have a business proposition for you. My lawyer is going to set it up so that I everything leans in my direction heavily. All right. Your lawyer is supposed to take it and then say, let's get it back to lean more towards you.
Mm.
And then we try to find something in the middle. All right. Um, and unfortunately, at least in the world of capitalism, people just, that's what it is. I'm going to get as much as I can, as much as you give me, I'm going to take. And then you have to be willing to walk away. The inability to walk away ultimately takes place in it too, because I'm behind in my rent. I would love to help my mom and my dad with their bills or with this whole situation. I would love to be able to set my children up. All right, well, I'm gonna go ahead and sign this thing right here. At least it'll give me a lump sum, and I'll be able to take that. So, and then people, again, it comes back to survival mode. You
Mm.
have to be able to say no. That's not a good deal, and I'm just not going to do it. Period. It didn't, like Robert Townsend said in the movie Hollywood Shuffle. There's work at the post office. You know what I'm saying? You have to be willing to do that. But my point in all of it is, listen, survival mode is a mother, man. And you come to some people and you say, listen, you can take this lump sum, and then I'm going to own your soul in your firstborn, and cut a finger off, and I'm gonna own that too. You know what I'm saying? I like that hat. Give me that. Like these types of things. And then a person's like, so let me go ahead and just do this, man. And then I try. And then when I get to that next bridge, I work. I just try to work past that. You know what I'm saying? And people, start, living that way, man. We have to be willing. It's the power of no. It's to be able to just walk away from a deal and say,
Yeah.
no, that doesn't serve me. I'm not going to do that. And then we also have to understand this when it comes to entertainment. There's more to entertainment than just being a recording artist. Sometimes you can be that person that tours. Sometimes you can be that regional person that in the tri-state area, everybody knows you, and everywhere you go, you get paid handsomely in order to do what you're doing. And then that could grow into something much bigger or whatever, but you have more leverage. You have to be willing and able to do various different things in order to make it happen, as opposed to, I'm just going to put all my eggs in this one basket, sign my life away, and here we are. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I as we just right in the middle of Black Music Month, the one of the things I've always thought had an impact on R&B music was when Billboard magazine decided, I'm going to take country music and I'm going to take rock music. I'm going to make it one chart. They didn't do that. They took hip hop, which is which would in some cases was banned from R&B stations,
Yeah.
and they said, we're going to put, because there are two black people are singing, one is rapping. Yeah, it's the same, and we're going to make it the top 100 hip hop and R&B charts. And I never understood that. And what unfortunately happened was that actually it became cheaper to do hip hop. You
Yep.
know, they that made so much more money, and it became too expensive to do the artist development. And so, okay, I think with hip hop, you don't really need an artist development. You just rap, you just come out there, you just walk around the stage. With R&B, you need your moves, you need your styling, you need your all that stuff to go with it.
Mhm.
So that's too much. It takes We're investing too much, and we're it's
Mhm.
taking a lot longer to get money. And in some ways, I think the labels colluded with Billboard to say, "Hey, you know what? We're thinking about phasing this R&B stuff out. Let's just combine the charts. So it was easier for us to manage and stuff like that."
Mhm.
As you were, you came out to the 90s and stuff. Did you notice when the charts went from just the R&B and the hip hop and it just became one, and actually you started to see it being filled 40%, 60% with hip hop artists, and then the R&B actually needed to get hip hop artists actually to send a hook just to make the charts.
Yep. Nope. It went right by me, bro. Like Zoom. I was like, yo, why is this in the same place? This, like I can't pinpoint the moment. But in hindsight, I look back at it and I'm like, wow. Now, what I will say is it caused quite a big rift in the rap and R&B communities in some ways. Especially in the early days, you remember uh in that song Jump by Criss Cross, they
Yeah,
said
yeah, yeah.
R&B, rap and bull crap, that's what I'm dumping. You know, Bugging Out by Tribe Called Quest. I wish I could cold pull the plug, on R&B, and that's bug, Um, but there was like a war, Jeremy Cooper said mid 2000s. Um, there was that war going on, and then there was those people who just said, all right, you know, is this a rapper or is this a singer? Or every rap has a singer on it, or every song has a rap on it, and everything just kind of started, going together. Now, these days, you hear a song, sometimes you don't know if you're listening to a rapper, you don't know if you're listening to a singer, you don't know if you're listening to a combination of both. I know there's Drake that came out there, and Drake is like singing, and then he's rapping, you know what I'm saying? And um, yeah, it did become somewhat convoluted. I don't remember. Exactly when it happened per se, but I remember not liking it because I was like, okay, so hip hop is when you look at hip hop culturally speaking, Mary J. Blige is hip hop. When you look at music, genre wise, Mary J. Blige is an R&B singer, but Mary J. Blige culturally is just as hip hop as any rapper is.
Mm.
People say that about me. They might be around me and they're like, "Well, that's hip hop culture." I'm not a rapper. You know what I'm saying? I've never been a rapper. Well, I've never been a successful rapper, but nah, 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 nah. Everybody was rapping back in the day, in the neighborhood. Like, yo, what you doing? I'm writing my rhyme. Watch. You don't like this, you know. But you know, we ultimately, uh, uh, hip hop is the culture. So then there are rappers, and then there are singers. But what they did was they put everything together: hip hop culture, singer, rapper, all mixed up into one thing, where technically speaking, putting together a rap song, putting together an R&B song are two different art forms. Show me a person who's an amazing R&B songwriter. That doesn't necessarily mean that they can write a good rap. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying? Show me a good rapper. That doesn't necessarily mean that they can master the art of writing a good R&B song. So these are two different art forms, genre speaking. And I agree, they both deserved, once upon a time they did deserve their own charts, their own, lane,
yeah,
and if you want to do a third chart that just says hip hop, and this is just anything that you feel just is influenced by the culture of hip hop. It could be reggae, it could be R&B, it could be, because um Back to Life by,
yeah.
uh
Soul to soul. Yeah,
Soul to Soul's Back to Life is just as hip hop as the rap record that came out that year. That's embraced in the hip hop community. You know what I'm saying? Um, so the cultural aspect of it, but yeah, those charts can't really represent culture. Charts can only represent genre. And when you merge genres, it's like that doesn't really work. And then you can see how it has hurt the genres themselves, the R&B genre, the rap genre. You can see how it hurt the two.
yeah,
Some good things have come out of it. Listen, we were always going to collaborate. R&B singers were always going to collaborate with rappers, and rappers were always going to collaborate with R&B singers. That's just a fact. It has always been a thing. That has always been a thing. But we have to respect that these genres do beg of different talent, you know parts of your talent in order to make it happen.
Yeah, because you can't imagine Rakim and Luther Vandross on the same charts. I mean, uh, great talents as they are, but there was a difference in how Luther would sing, and he won't ever get, say, a hip hop artist to feature on his track because it's like, yeah, and so that's stuff that actually I do think, because today, how often are we seeing R&B songs come out? I mean, it's very much limited really to females
Hmm.
singing about relationships,
Yeah.
but we're not getting a lot of men being pushed by labels.
Hmm.
You talked about Sexy Red or all these, so they're finding these female rappers,
Hmm.
and I think one person, I can't remember who is this white guy, was a marketing guy, was saying that if he's no other community would ever allow um the type of music that's permitted within the black culture, um denigrating the women, and one another, because if you were to say, I'm going to go kill, I'm going to go down into this neighborhood and take your daughter and rape her and stuff like that, there'll be uproar, it'll be on the news, the label will ban you and everything.
Yeah.
But they're fine when we're talking about, yeah, I'm going to go over there, I'm going to kill you, and we're
Mhm.
going to take all your money, I'm going to take your women. It's like, oh yeah, okay, if you guys, it's art form when we talk about ourselves doing that way. But if we were crossed over and saying we're going to do this, or when Ice T says cop killer, oh, what's going on? This is not art anymore. This is a threat to terrorism.
Yeah.
You do your hip hop historian. I mean, do you think they're fine with us denigrating ourselves as long as it's ourselves? Does this
Good.
fit the narrative that you're saying that, yep, this is how we see it? So as long as you're talking about it, it's safe.
1,000%. Yes. So which comes back, and it begs this question: how do we see us? Um, what do you want to hear a man say? What do you want to hear a woman say? What do you want to hear when you listen to a song? What do you want your children
Mhm.
to see when they look at a singer or a rapper? Maybe some rappers are not for your children. Maybe some rappers are for children. Like, there's always been rappers that was more fun loving, maybe ladies man, love, or whatever the case may be. And then you had stuff that was a little more adult. But the question becomes, how do we see us, and how should we want to represent ourselves by us, for us? Meaning, if there's a cultural thing happening, and you mentioned earlier, brothers and sisters coming out of India doing certain things. Come on, start your business, and we're going to funnel this.
Yeah.
So if we're talking about Indian culture, and we say, let's define it. Let's define what Indian culture, and let's say I am an Indian brother. Um, I am. Let's define what Indian culture looks like. Let's define what Indian culture sounds like. Let's define, when you venture over into this right here, that's no longer Indian culture. That's something else. How do we present it? And then I'm using that as an example because oftentimes with us, we present a thing, we create a thing, we give it away to the world, and then we're like outsiders looking in, of the thing. So my thing becomes, well, as a man, as a songwriter, and as a singer, how do you want to be seen? What kind of song do you want to present to the world? Who are you? And as a consumer, what do you want to hear? Because I know a lot of people that they can't, it's hard for them to listen to, if they want a song that explores something like a crush,
Mhm.
just a feeling of, I think I kind of like this person. I may be kind of falling for this person. Um, so the thing becomes, do you put on Sexy Red, or do you put on um little whoever or young whoever? Do you do those things? Does that speak to the sentiment that you're looking for? All right. And if it can't, yo, unfortunately, well, not or fortunately, I shouldn't say unfortunately, you got to go and you got to find the Marvin Gaye. You got to go put on the stuff that speaks to that. You know what I'm saying? So the music should reflect all of these different things. So to answer your question, yes, 1,000%. An outsider, doesn't care, about how we present ourselves, and will be, historically more comfortable, with black people being this and black people being that. But we define us. We should always define us. And ultimately, we always should stick to our guns to say, this is what our culture is. This is what our culture looks like. This is what our culture sounds like. And this is what we're going to do. Capitalism changes a lot of that.
It's always going to go back to the money.
Capitalism changes that.
Here's a question. Ask him what he thinks about Little Ladae, Craig Mack disc. Was there one?
Um, who is that? Who is E? Irizarry. Who is this person?
Uh,
Um,
was there
so
one?
let's deal with that. I've never dealt with that before, but yeah, there was this particular song. I won't go into it because there's no there was never any beef. Like there was never any uh thing between us and Big, or there was never really anything between us and Kim, or so on and so forth. It was a lyric in a song. It was what it was, and that was, made Craig Mack rest in peace. And Little Kim went on to have a great run. There's nothing really to say about that.
Okay, okay. I didn't realize that. Yeah, it was just a question that came out. Okay. Um,
But who is E?
who's
Who is this
no,
person?
I don't know.
And this person knows about Morrison Slick, so that's what's up.
Okay, okay. Yeah, it's okay. So I mean, I guess most of us probably wouldn't. Let's get it right. Yeah.
Mhm.
This is yeah. But okay, I guess just what are the things that we're going to be able to see happening from you coming over the next couple of weeks and months? Because I know you did an amazing stuff. Even Teddy shared it. The everyone really the Led Zeppelin sort of your your Led Zeppelin cross minute was really well received. It really it blew a lot of us about wow.
Yeah.
These guys who we celebrate as Rock and Roll Hall of Famers actually took. How come
Yeah, no, no.
they didn't get sued and stuff?
They did actually.
Oh,
They did. Willie Dixon actually did sue them, and ultimately, what we found was we found a lot of settlements that ended up happening. You
uh,
know, Willie Dixon did lose. I mean, I'm sorry, Willie Dixon won those suits, but ultimately they had to pay him in settlements. And it happened so many times. That episode that I did, you said Teddy shared
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. A lot of them, everyone from J
Oh,
Love, yeah, Ted. They put it on their story and everything. Yeah.
now shout out to Teddy Riley. Shout out to Teddy. Um, yeah, I mean, that episode was short compared to what it could have been. Like there's literally like 20 songs or more. You know what I'm saying? That I could have gone. And I've been thinking about doing a part two. I've been thinking about doing a part two and a part three, perhaps. But they were sued. Led Zeppelin was definitely sued. And what they had to do is they had to start putting Willie Dixon's name on the songs later.
Oh, okay.
So if you buy a new version of some of those songs, you'll see Willie Dixon as one of the writers. But for a long stretch of the time, he wasn't on there. So when the family sued them, they had to do back pay with the settlement. So we never got the details of the settlement, but we know that the settlement was like out of this world. The only problem with that is some of the people that they uh, uh kind of jacked or stole from, so to speak. Some of those people were gone. We're dead and gone. You know what I'm saying? Because they got it from so long ago. Like Robert Johnson. Look at Robert Johnson. Robert Johnson was gone as early as the 1930s. And some of those things that they took were from the 1920s, 1930s, and 1940s. All right. In others, those people were literally still alive, still there. Bo Diddley is still alive and still there. Muddy Waters. Shout out to the Rolling Stones, who actually took Muddy Waters on the road with them during his time of being alive and watching a lot of those things. You know what I'm saying? So here we are. Muddy Waters was painting the ceiling when the Rolling Stones they went to Chicago because they wanted to record their music in the same place as Muddy Waters and Howlin' Wolf and stuff. Just maybe there was something in the air that would get into their music or whatever the case may be. When they got there, Muddy Waters was literally painting the ceiling.
Wow.
All right. And they was like, wow, he's doing this for money. Come on the road with us. So shout out to the Rolling Stones and the Beatles and some of the other ones who really, really did give um, uh, those artists like props. You know what I'm
It
saying?
does seem like okay, you do hear the Beatles talk about Little Richie and like no, but we took our stuff from him, so he did it first, and you do see the Rolling Stones. Surprising that Led Zeppelin probably and maybe others decided, we can get away with this,
Mhm.
and but then they go after other people. So but I mean, how long does it take when you do those research before you put it out?
So how long say that one more time. How long
How
do
long
you
does it normally take for you to do that episode? Because it felt like you've got to go through the archives and research and stuff.
No, man, let me tell you something, man. You see how I'm sitting here talking to you? Sometimes I have an idea and I sit in front of my camera and I just talk like for a period of time and I tell the story and then I edit it to be like a certain, you know, length. And it started as crossing a minute, but man, it's
That's
hard.
just, that was like 5 minutes. That was a long.
Yeah, like it's hard to do a minute, well, I mean, especially when if you're talking about an artist, if you're talking about artists like Led Zeppelin, that there were so many songs to cover, there's no way.
Mm.
There's no way. So I'll start it, and I'll say, I'm probably gonna need more than a minute for this because I already know how long it's gonna end up being.
Yeah. Did, was it? You said met you at Farmingdale University back in '94.
I don't know what this person is talking about. I was born in 1999. You know what I'm saying? So I'm joking. I'm joking. Um, no, you know what? Shout out to Farmingdale University because, man, listen, being from Queens, we used to end up out there a lot. We used to end up. Shout out to
Is it in
Darren.
New York?
Farmingdale is definitely New York. It's in Long
Okay.
Island. It's in Long Island. Basically not far from where like the leaders of the new school from Busta Rhymes,
Okay.
where they kind of came together and stuff like that. But yeah, listen, man, we were all over the place. We did some stuff in New York. We did a lot of stuff in New York. You know what I'm saying? But we also got outside of New York. But shout out to Farmingdale and shout out to my man Winky, who actually lives near Farmingdale these days.
Wow. Just as you said, you haven't said. So, what should we expect over the next 6 months before the end of the year?
you know, you're making me work here, man. So there's Cross Academy of Performing Arts. All right.
Okay.
Cross Academy Performing Arts is a program that I have. Shout out to my good friend Drago Moore, who works along with me. Shout out to Mr. Fingers in his piano math program in school. In Cross Academy, we're bringing to different schools. We have been bringing for the past 10 years vocal music, instrumental music. In some instances, we brought songwriting, we
Mm.
brought dance, and we brought drama to young people who most of the time can't afford the lessons, but we're able to bring it to them for free. We're in
Wow.
the Bronx. We've done Harlem, Brooklyn, and we are also in New Jersey. You know what I'm saying? He said, "Yeah, we old, bro. Stop playing." Nah, you old, bro. Um, but no, we Cross Academy. We've been doing some great work. It is a passion project. I love working with young people. And there's that. There's also a couple of documentaries that I'm producing, that I'm co-producing. One is about a co-op that was erected by Adam Clayton Powell. It's called the Dory Miller. I'm sorry, the co-op, the
Mm.
Kids of Dory Miller. It is a really, really dope. Go to my page and you'll see more about that. I'm also co-producing. I'm also doing some co-production, but I'm doing some narrating and history work on a documentary about the connection between street basketball and hip hop in Harlem. All right.
Mm.
There's that. Then there is a book. I can't give too much information on this one because this one is still the legal is kind of still. I'm writing a book. It's not a book on my life or nothing like that. I'm not interested. You know what I'm saying? But I am doing some music history stuff, book wise. There's that.
Okay.
All right. And and then there's television. There's stuff that I've done, you know, with Bounce TV, and I'm continuing to do. Oh, I've done some stuff with my good friend Angelica Beener over on WBGO. We've talked about the Isley Brothers. We've talked about Stevie Wonder. There's some radio stuff, and then I'm also minister of music over at a church here in Queens, right alongside of my guy Taiwan Green, Mr. Fingers. So I'm always, man, I'm always doing stuff. And then there's just some other stuff that I cannot mention because we're in negotiation. That's why you're making me work hard, man.
In all that, I never heard, and I'm gonna put out a new record, a new album. You know what he's
Oh, me?
is that all history now? Writing,
No,
producing,
no,
singing.
no. Listen, man, I'm always working. Um, I'm always doing music. All right. Um, for some of the projects. So you hear me doing the scoring type stuff. You know what I'm saying? For some of the documentary work. There's that, and I can't say much, man. I can't say much. But listen, just know I'm always working.
Yeah.
I'm always working.
Well, I mean, and I definitely appreciate you taking the time to be able to come on live. And yeah, as I said, I could have done this at any time of the year instead of Black Music Month, but I guess it's just fitting, just to be able to just go down memory lane and see the state of how things are. Because if you don't revisit your past, you can't really have a good. It makes it hard to look at the future because you need to see mistakes, learn from them, both in life and even in the music industry and entertainment industry, and start seeing how we can really, keep pushing positivity. Because strange enough, as I said, I lived in a college state for 10 years. The political, who was, I think, Clinton and George Bush were the two presidents during the time I was there, and it wasn't as fractured a country as it is now. I think as it has been for the last 10 years. And so coming from the outside looking into America, it's like, wow, I don't recognize that country. I don't recognize, there was no Fox. I don't think it was Fox News when I was out there, but if there was, it wasn't a big deal. But I don't recognize that, and so, and then I still see this our community also, you know, um, being fractured, and
Yeah,
when and people taking sides, and so I just hope that there is, like what you do on your cross minutes, is to elevate unsung heroes in the
yeah,
music industry. Try and find positivity, whether it's in hip hop and all these areas, and people really being able to feel proud about that. And says, "Wow, so these guys stole us, and he influenced a great rock band and stuff," and be able to say, "Wow, so we actually are great." This felt like in the '60s there was a lot of black empowerment. There was a lot of "I'm black and I'm proud, and you can do it," and everyone standing strong. And now we don't see that.
yeah.
I don't know if my kids say, "Dad, what can we listen to?" I don't know who I could say. Yeah, that well, um, they've just released a new album. Let's try that. I don't know, and I don't see it. That's the scary thing, is because no one really seeing making money selling positive music, so they're not doing that.
Yeah, no. Well, you know what? Part of what I try to teach of my children, and I kind of try to do it through example, is let them know all music is available to you at all times. Some of the music that is out today may not speak to a feeling or a sentiment that you see or that you want to hear, it is perfectly fine to go to yesterday, yesteryear, to find that sentiment that you can identify with. A lot of the stuff that I have come across stuff from 30, 40, 50, 60 years ago that speaks very well about where we are right now, specifically prophetically. You know what I'm saying? So
Mm.
that's a part of it. The other part of it is America as a nation has always been as fragmented as it is today. Even back in the days of George W. Bush, and Clinton. But what we see today is we see a lot of things on steroids. When it comes to social media, we're kind of addicted to discourse and not addicted to action. It's kind of like, when a person, I was talking to a friend of mine today, where it's like if you see a chink in the armor, and the chink in the armor is, uh, tall people and short people, are always at each other's odds, are always at odds or whatever the case is. Then it becomes get those people and put those people one against the other. And then here we have an all-out war
Mm.
of height now. You know what I'm saying? Where really it's really not a thing. It's always been there, but now it's worse. And I think there's a lot of hyper overstimulation of points of various different things. You have a point, you have a feeling, you have a vibe, there's something that you believe, and now you're overstimulated in that, and you have become maniacal in how you deal with it and how you speak to people and yada yada yada. So that has been weaponized, and that kind of thing. But listen, I want to say this, man. Your work is very important in this because let me be clear about something. You represent in your experiences a very Pan-African experience. You have the continent of Africa in there in your experience. You have abroad being a part of a Black community outside of America and outside of the continent like Europe. And then on top of that, you've lived in America and you also understand a Black American culture and stuff. So what you're doing is very important. You're bringing a lot of people together in all of what you're doing, and you have a very unique perspective. And I appreciate you for coming on here and us having these conversations in this discourse, man, because I really enjoy talking to you. That's for one, and for two, your outlook. You are very knowledgeable. Trust me, my brother. You're more knowledgeable than a lot of people born and raised right here about the stuff right here. You're so knowledgeable about it. And I want to say thank you, for the opportunity to do this and keep doing the work, man, because we have to continue. And I see a lot of people on here, who are doing a lot of work. Chandra, she's a great playwright, originally from Mississippi, and now I believe in Memphis, but at two legendary places. But the point is, this work that we do is very important because what's going to bring our communities together? Because what we've really been talking about is we've been talking about bringing the communities together.
Yeah.
Music has been a healer. It has been something that we have used to come of age by. It's something that we have used to fall in love by. It's something that we have used to create, to worship God by. It's something that we have used in order to get married. We've used music in order to console us through breakups and through hurt. We form friendships through music. We
Mm.
have become friends with. You ever have a song and it's like this song feels like a friend? When you hear the song, it feels like a hug and stuff. Music does that with us, man. And so we have to continue to allow people to remember that music doesn't necessarily have to have just come out within the last past 6 months or a
Mm.
year. It could have come out 6 years ago, 60 years ago, 100 years ago. And then if you want to add sheet music, 160 in 600 years ago. All right. And music is that in the stories and the culture behind it is very important, man. So I appreciate you, man.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. And as I said, as I said, it was really blessed when you first came on, and I just thought, it'd be great. And I actually had no idea. I was going to talk about the award shows and stuff, but I didn't realize when we did start talking about the things that we did. But and it is important, and my biggest thing has always been as a mental health therapist to try, especially for men, black men, to really embrace that,
Mhm.
but also being able to have whatever conversation that has let people just speak that what they've experienced and feel validated and stuff like that. And but as I said, your last cross minute really touched a lot of people. A lot of people said, "Wow, it's our culture." There's a sense of, and I'm saying our culture. So
Yes.
I'm not saying like, oh, the Black Americans. I'm just saying
Yeah,
our
yeah,
culture because a lot of that
absolutely.
came from Africa, and then
Yeah.
we took it all took around. So it's been emphasized and things like that, and so there is a lot of us that we should all own. And as you're right, the Europeans broke the countries. They took two main. Well, they took about 20 different cultures within and said we're just going to form one country. It's a lot easier to administer. So put people who were historically at conflict. Yeah, we're just going to make you one country. You deal with it. So when there's a chaos, we can manage and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay, we're learning to do that. Then they come in and they stabilize us more. So then now, the French did a lot, but we're seeing it slowly. A lot of African countries rebelled against France. They're putting in leaders who are saying we're going to cut away from France.
Yeah.
So we're seeing it bit by bit. We're separating ourselves. Now it's time for us to be able to embrace one another in America because you're the most. I go when I went to America. We're seeing the hip hop songs. We're seeing the documentaries and the films, and then we're getting afraid because it's the
Yeah.
representation that we see is what scares us when we're coming over. Get
Yeah.
away from black women because they can kill you. All that was what was shown to the rest of the world. So when you come over, you come in fear and you separate
Yeah.
and stuff. And so that's why it's good to hear the stories and stuff. Go ahead.
Here's my advice. My advice um to the international Black community is the same people that colonize your country is the same people who are telling you who we are.
Mm,
Can't trust
definitely.
that.
Very definitely. Well, I see you've got the MPC at the back. Hopefully, more productions are coming.
Oh,
Does it
we
get
shall
used?
see. We shall see. Listen, listen, listen. I to this day, I can't walk past the MP without doing something. You know what I'm saying? I know. Shout out to Mr. Fingers. He said he saw the
You
MP,
saw
and
it, yeah.
I'm not gonna. I kind of put it there on purpose. I was like, yeah, I might throw that. This might come up. You know what I'm saying? But listen, shout out to the mighty Al B. Shore because Al B. Shore gave me my very first MP. That's not the one, but my very first MPC, Al B. Shore actually gave it to me. Like
Wow.
unplugged his, and said, "Here, take this home." And that's what happened. And that was really the beginning of me having my own sequencer. And after that, start cranking them out. Shout out to Al B. Shore.
Yeah, he appreciated the shout out you gave him.
Really?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
I speak to Al. I speak to Al every now and then, man. I speak to Al, and I just wanted let me go on record as saying this about Al B. Shore. He doesn't get his flowers enough. All right. So let me give you some flowers right now, Al B. Shore. Let me give you some flowers. I'll be sure, and my friends know this, that know me well, will attest to this. I've been saying this for years. I'll be sure has one of the greatest ears in R&B music. One of the greatest ears you will hear because this is the person that's going to arrange. This is the person that's going to do vocal production. This is the person who's going to write those melodies. This is the person that how you listen to Jodeci's first album.
Mm.
Do me a favor. Listen to "Come and Talk to Me," and you hear "Come and Talk to Me." I really want to meet you. Right. This is Al B's vocal arrangement, and then it gets to the point where it's all of these vocal parts that are fitting like a puzzle. Come and talk to me. I really want. Right, and then you got "Come and Talk to Me" on top of that. On top of that, I really want you. You got that going on. On top of that, all right. I'll be sure is a master when it comes to uh his ear. I can listen to those Jodeci songs. I can listen to those Tevin Campbell songs. I can listen to all those songs that he did, and I could point out I'll be sure told that guy to do that thing right there. That ad lib, that note where he zigged, where you would have zagged, but he zigged instead of zagging. That's the Al B. Shore thing. That's the Al B. Shore effect. So I want to say shout out to Al B. Shore, and I still say that Al B. Shore created one of the greatest late 80s New Jack-ish albums that we have heard in that particular time. Night and Day, Ooh This Love, Rescue Me, Off on Your Own, If I'm Not Your Lover, Naturally Mine. I mean, need I say more? Killing Me Softly, his Killing Me Softly
Yeah,
remake,
yeah,
So shout out to him and shout out to the mighty, mighty, mighty Cal West.
yeah. Yeah. The 1-2 point. I mean, but I think people forget because Carl says I'll come up with the music and Al would write the lyrics, and I don't think anyone would say Al Shaw is a songwriter. Would actually let that sink in that Al Shaw wrote all his lyrics.
Yeah.
He said he, did-
Yes.
I don't think people realize that he wrote all his lyrics and wrote for other
Yeah.
people.
Listen. Go back and listen to um shout out to Juan Moore. Um
Yeah,
Wanye
yeah, yeah. They did.
Wanye's sons.
Yeah.
And shout out to Toy, their mother, um, who's done a great job with them as well. But man, they remade Alone with You.
The Tevin Campbell's.
Listen, shout out to Al, to the pen of Al B. Shore, the melodies of Al B. Shore, and the production of Kyle West, because they didn't change anything. They didn't change the beat. They didn't change the melody. That is an Al B. Shore thing. Shout out to JoJo and Casey for those background vocals on Along with You as well.
Oh, they did that. Oh.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's JoJo and Casey on Tevin's Along with You. That's them on Goodbye. That is them on Confused. That is them on Just Ask Me To.
Yeah, I think because of Devante, people underplay Albie Shaw's influence on Jodeci because Devante did all the writing and production, and it's quite easy to think that he just was there trying to brag on them instead of actually
Listen,
helping them make a record. I mean, they've never made a record. I mean, they could sing, they could do stuff, but it's different.
listen, Devontae is a genius. Devontae is an absolute musical genius in what he does. And I take nothing away from Devontae. You can listen to their first album and their second album. You can hear the differences. Not, oh, this one is better and that one is not. It's you hear the difference,
Yeah.
And you can hear the LB, kind of hand in on that first album. Like
Mm,
the first album was like more clean,
mm,
right? And then the second album was like grittier,
mm.
so you can, and then Timbaland came into the camp
Yeah.
during that time as well. So in that second album, you kind of start hearing that grit. On that first album, it's just clean. That's
Mm.
the Al B. Shore effect. And then the Devontae, you heard the record crackle and the Devontae stuff. And, I mean, because that's the thing, they kind of made it a little bit more dirty. So yeah, no, Al's influence was mighty. And if you talk to Casey and JoJo today, you'll see. And the next time we speak, I'm gonna give you the story behind a song called Beautiful, produced by Al B. Shaw and Kyle West, and sung by JoJo and Casey. And then at a later time, recorded by the group Ladae. But there's a story of a thing that go before that I gotta bring it all together for you, like an episode of Wild TL Cross.
Okay, okay, okay. Well, it is midnight here, and I actually appreciate all the people that tuned in to really show love and support and stuff. As I said, I had no idea the direction we're gonna go, but I'm just definitely appreciate the time you took out to really just talk on the culture and really help us just keeping it positive, and that's what we want to continue doing. Yes. But anyway, yeah, appreciate everything. So, but we're gonna, and I'll put your page stuff in the description so as people come back and watch this there and thereafter they can just tune in and stuff.
Yeah.
But just check out his latest 1 minute cross minutes about Led Zeppelin, who everyone would rave as one of the greatest rock bands. But
Yeah.
if we understood where they got their songs from, it's really sad. But
Yeah.
you know, but it's happening all the time with everything we do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all about it's not a hit job, but it's all about allowing the minds in the culture by which these artists the things that these artists had to live through in order to even create what they created,
Mhm.
the things that they had to endure and experience in their personal lives, that their heart poured out these pieces of music. They deserve to be seen. They deserve to be represented. They deserve all of that stuff, And so that's what I really want to do. I really wanted to get an opportunity to talk about a lot of these great, great, brilliant, brilliant artists,
Yeah.
and that allowed me to do such a thing. You know what I'm saying? And so, thank you for everybody to watch that too. It's well over 100,000
Yeah.
views, and I appreciate that. Who knew? You do these episodes, and you don't know if people are going to gravitate towards it or not. Sometimes like I'll do an episode, and I'm like, this is going to be crazy, and then I'm like, oh yeah, this should have more views in this. And then I'll do one, and I'll say, oh, this is something that I'll just throw out there, whatever, and it's just like out of here. You know what I'm saying? So you just never know. You just got to keep working on it. Terry Lewis told me like this: there's three types of songs. There's good songs, there's bad songs, and there's hits. Never get caught up into trying to make hits, because you can just end up writing a bunch of bad songs. Just write good songs, and the hope is that they will be a hit. And so that's what I do with this stuff. I'm not trying to create a hit. I am literally just trying to uh, create, the best product that I possibly can as far as history is concerned. And then I just put it out there.
Mm. Yeah. No, and as I said, it is it is just like, and I think what social media is, it's almost like a little light, the ability to take something that, if I go to Wikipedia and I have to read it up, you just summarize it in, they, because I like the way you said, well, before that we need to go back again. We need to keep going. I'm like, okay, how far back are we going with this? And
Yeah,
then
right,
we
right,
go.
right. No, you have to. You know why? Because sometimes you're talking and you will leave little. It's like Easter eggs. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I'm gonna put this here. This is gonna tie to something later. So when I say it, I'm gonna tell you, don't forget that. Don't forget that right there. And then we'll go back, and then I'll go back and get it, because that's really how life works. You know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, listen. Somebody can. What time is it right now in London?
To midnight. That was fine.
It's midnight. All
Yeah.
right. So now let's say nobody knows that you just did this interview. All right. 2 hours from now, you're sleeping. The phone rings, and somebody says, yo, man, that interview that you did was crazy. Right. So if basically somebody just started following your life from that conversation, they're not going to know the interview the person is talking about. So first, let me tell you a little bit about the interview. Then we'll go to remember that interview, because when this person calls them at 2 o'clock in the morning, that's what they're going to be talking about, because that's how life really operates.
Yeah, yeah. Mr. Savagnon said, if you could sing about it, would you ever? Because I could see a rap about this type of stuff, but could you ever sing about these type of historic facts that you bring out? Would it be hard to put in in song format?
Um, no, I don't think it would be hard to put in a song format, but when people have done it in the past, I've hated it. Like,
Okay.
so, you know what I mean? Like I love the idea of singing about that, but I haven't heard it done yet in a way. Oh, wait a minute. Yes, I have. Stevie Wonder's song Sir Duke. There's Basie Miller, Satchmo, and the King of them all, Sir Duke. And with a voice like Ella ringing out, there's no way the band could lose. That's dope, but I'd have to figure out a way. I'd have to figure out a way to do it and not like, it'd be corny or like, but I like I love that idea. Thank you for bringing that to my attention, and I'm gonna think about that.
Yeah. Anyway, when you get back, we'll talk. You will hear about beautiful Casey, Jojo, I'll be sure, and Ladae and stuff.
Nobody knows about that. There's a couple of things. Listen, there's a couple of things, bro, that I've sat on that I haven't told you yet, man. But I'm saving it for the Emmy Award. I'm saving it for the Emmy Award worthy interview that we do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's the one I want.
Yeah, but it's been great, and those who've checked in and enjoyed the positivity and stuff like that, it's been great and stuff. But anyway, yes, as it says midnight, I've got 4 cases, 4 clients that I'm going to see at tomorrow. The job of a therapist, but this has been fun, and this has been great, and yeah, I'm glad you were able to come back, because a lot of people were really, as I said, I was like, wow, because I think I was, because you're an eloquent speaker,
Mhm.
because I've interviewed, I think, over 150 different guests, I appreciate all the guests, but I noticed some guests aren't, when they're, that, not that they're not selling themselves, they come across like, here's the answer, and back, and then
Yeah,
there's some that are really passionate about what they're talking about, and what happens is actually people who are watching are appreciating. I don't do anything. I sit back, ask a few questions, and it's how it's elaborated. So
yo,
that
you
was a
got
lot
it.
of what we heard from you.
You have a truth. You have a true serum in the way that you like approach interviews. Like you start the interview. First of all, as I said, you have a very like you're like very calm. You know, you're like, so just tell me more about, you know. So,
No.
you know, an hour into the interview, person's like, you know what I'm saying? When I was a child, like, you know, I didn't get hugged the way I needed to get hugged. You know? No, but I love your style, man. I appreciate how you do what you do, man. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I've seen some great friends, some great people, you know, that I know, some that I do not know. And I just say, kids, work hard, go to school, do your work, eat your vitamins.
Sound like sort of Mr. T or Mike Tyson said back in the 80s.
Mr. T was my idol, bro.
Are you serious?
Mr. T was my idol.
Yeah, yeah, he was. Oh, yeah, he was big globally and stuff like that. But yeah, I think next time we come back, we may talk about Bill Cosby. And was he cancelled because of the positivity, the fact that they've taken
Oh,
off the Cosby Show, which when I was in Nigeria watching it, my image of the black family was different because I remember Good Times, and that was what I thought was the black family because that was the big popular show. And then the Jeffersons seems as if, yeah, I just made some money and I'm going to be mean about my money. And then you see the Cosby Show where you have a doctor, a surgeon, and a lawyer,
mhm,
and they're, the style, how they raise the kids, challenging.
mhm,
And you're like, and I moved to America. My uncle, who I stayed with, he was a surgeon, and my auntie, his wife, was a professor.
mhm.
And I'm like, this is the Cosby Show because it was. I felt like I was living in the Cosby house because,
Yeah,
like, look
yeah,
at this outstanding stuff,
yeah,
and the fact that it felt, I don't know the drama what he did, but taking that off the air said we're going to raise that
yeah,
positivity. We're going to raise all the fact that what he did. In
yeah.
fact, we're also going to take away um what's the Hillman School stuff?
A different world.
A different world. Yeah, we're gonna strip that out because it's yeah, because we anything associated with him, we're gonna take off. It's like, but generations of people want to be able to see the positive role model. They want to be able to see um, the fact that these HBCs have a place, and it's a place
Yeah,
where they can feel safe. But
yeah.
they've decided to scrap all of that,
Mhm,
and then you start wondering, is there a bigger picture and a bigger plan and
mhm,
stuff? So I think the next time it would be great just to talk about how, whether we're talking about role models or influential black people, and when they get found out, and then it seems if they want to shut it all down, how do we, what positions are we taking? Even the Diddy situation,
mhm,
it's easy to forget all the great music and all the stuff that's done, and just say, well, anything he touched, we just strip it off and get rid of it, and say, and then we also helping with the ropes and pulling
Mm.
and pulling down and stuff. So that may be controversial, but it'd be interesting just to be able to look at that and see if there's anything that could be thought about positively or so.
Yeah, yeah. You trying to put my feet to the fire.
No,
Yo,
no.
see, if you look back there, you see Eric B. and Rakim where my finger is?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right above that. That is a different world right there. A
Wow.
different world. That's that show that you're talking about. A different world. And I started to wear my different world shirt, but I said I'm gonna go ahead and throw my Marvin Gaye on or whatever because
Oh.
but listen, we can have a conversation about that, yeah, yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize that you were into. I mean, yeah. I mean, I was. I mean, it was
Oh, you
very.
didn't know that you didn't know. Listen, I'm a part of a whole different world, um, like group, like like there's as a matter of fact, there's people that tell me that I look like Ron from a
Yeah,
different
yeah,
world.
yeah, 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 yeah. With the hat, yeah, with the hat, the glasses. Although his glasses are a little bit thicker, but yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, no, but I'm certainly aware of the programming that you're talking about. So we
The
get
fact
this.
that it's not on TV anymore, like it just been wiped out.
Yeah,
It's
yeah. Well, I see it because when you look at Prime Video, I don't know if y'all have that. Do y'all have Amazon Prime
yeah,
Video?
yeah, yes, yeah, yeah. Is it on? Okay.
You just gotta buy it. You have to buy it. Like it's not free. Like you have to literally buy either the episodes or the actual uh uh you know
Series
the,
and stuff. So
the
it's not like any other reruns that you're getting on that
I don't know because you're talking about television. See, I
yeah.
don't watch TV
Oh,
anymore.
you
I
don't
just,
watch TV
I
anymore.
just be streaming.
Okay,
I just
okay,
stream, but I do watch TV when I'm watching sports. When I'm
yeah.
watching sports. Matter of fact, stay right there, yo. Stay right there. I got something. I'm kind of cold. So I'm gonna throw this. I'm gonna throw this New York Nick. I'm gonna throw this New York Knicks song right here because I'm kind of cold right here. Being that we talking about sports.
Are they in the final?
Come on, man. No, don't, no. Are you being funny right now? No, they got knocked out, bro.
Oh,
Like,
they did. Okay, 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 okay.
yo, did you know that? Or was you trying to play the
No,
Knicks?
no, I didn't. I didn't realize. I think yeah. What? Yeah, yeah. No, I used to. I've stopped when I was watching basketball at the time. It was during the Jordan era, and this is when you had, I think Stockton and no, not Stockton, Stock and
You talking about
John
John Starks?
Elway, John Elway.
No, no, no.
Uh,
Oh, you talking about football?
no, sorry.
You
No,
talking
not
about
John
Patrick
Elway.
Ewing,
Patrick Ewing,
Patrick Ewing, John Starks,
John Stock.
Charles
Yeah,
Oakley,
yeah.
Anthony
So,
Mason.
so those Knicks that were, I think fifth. Yeah, those Knicks, if they were playing today, I think they'll probably get fouled out every because that was the Knicks. I always used to think the Knicks and the Pistons were, the strong
Yeah,
team, but
yeah.
you had Jordan, so it was impossible to pass
Listen,
him.
man.
But
Michael
yeah,
Jordan is Michael Jordan. You can't be mad at that. It's like, listen, it's like when Michael Jackson was dominating the music charts, to have a number two during Michael Jackson's era, that is a number one.
yeah. Well, Lionel Richie, yeah, he was.
Yeah, like you can't get there, because MJ is just gonna be there. So, you just gotta take that number two and be like, that's like having a number one in the Michael Jackson era. You know what I'm saying? So that's how I feel about my Knicks. You know what I'm saying? You
Okay,
just
they're
put
coming
that number
back.
two, and it's like we're number two. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, they're coming back. Anyway, yeah, well, yeah. Some of people were saying that you could actually get it on TV1 and
Oh,
yeah, and
hold on, Matt.
HBO Max.
See, that's the homie Angelica Bina. She would know.
Yeah, yeah, and it's
She would.
good. As I said, my thing because it was an international stuff, and it gave. I never estimate the power of TV characters. As I said, the Cosby Show was really powerful stuff. I will never forget the episode with Theo where he says, "I brought you into this world, and I could take you out of it."
Right. That's right.
Or when he says, "I want to quit college and get a job," and he said, "Let's do some,"
Yeah.
and that's set me apart. Like, wow, goodness, the roles of a father
Yeah.
and representing and things like that. And
Yeah.
as I said, it's easy to see the positivity of what that was,
Yeah.
and then say, "Oh well, he's this is what's happened, so we need to get rid of it
Yeah.
and stuff."
Yeah.
And so we'll talk about the politics around that. And
Yeah. No, we will. We will. And I interviewed Malcolm Jamal Warner
oh
um,
wow,
a few months ago, and I had the opportunity to tell him a lot of the stuff that you're saying right now. I had the opportunity to tell him a lot of those things, give him the flowers, that he so deserves. And by the way, that episode that you talked about, where he was talking about the monopoly money, this is
yeah,
what
yeah.
my parents, they were at that episode. They were in the studio audience.
Are you kidding me?
They were absolutely there. Isn't that cool?
Wow,
That's cool, right? That's some history, you
that's
know.
a cross minute. That's
It's
right
across
there.
the thing right there.
And you can actually, if you tie it back to when I was doing this and my parents brought it. Remember what time I told you about my mom and dad? Someone
Yo,
gave him a ticket.
hold on. Let me just tell you something. There are people who do that in real life when they meet me, right? So, like, I kid you not. As a matter of fact, Angelica has a genius of a son, Riley G, and he's a producer, and he's like producing all this amazing music. He's even been nominated for a Grammy, and we're very proud of him. Goes to LaGuardia High School. Shout out. Um, but we were at an event where he was playing, and there was a cameraman that came over to me and said, "Yeah, man, I see you here. So I know you just taking everything in, right?" So I was like, "Yeah, So he was like, he said, "Yo, there was a song playing." He came over to me. He said, "This right here. This was Earth, Wind, and Fire. Yo, but I'm gonna come back to that." You know what I'm saying? And I was like, "Yep, you were the first person to ever say that."
He said,
Very first,
"Hey,
No,
hey."
I appreciated that, man. I always appreciate those types of, you know, uh, 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 moments that I can share with people in everyday life, man. Because history to a lot of people is boring. If you can make history fun for people, why not?
Yeah, and I've always loved history because I think that's because it gives me an appreciation of of who I'm meeting, and
Yeah.
that's why, as I said, I didn't know anything about the whole Selma stuff, and then I could understand and be empathetic and say, I'm not just going to. I can understand why you don't trust the system and stuff like that, and what can I do to support you through that journey,
Mhm.
even though I might not see it the same way and stuff like that. So history is key and important. The fact that your parents were in the audience when that historic episode was recorded, which in a sense, in a way, as a dad now, it's like, dealing with one of my kids is like, nah, I don't need to study. I can do. It's like, okay, no, okay, I don't
Yeah.
need to show the episode. I can talk it through because that was such an effect on myself. So
Yeah.
yeah.
You know what? Two things. Shout out to LaGuardia because I see some LaGuardia heads in here. And then I wanted to also say, DJ All Day, you said Southside Jamaica Queen. No doubt. I saw you, brother. Southside Jamaica Queen. And I want to ask you a question. Namdi, like, so the way I'm seeing this, are they seeing it the way I'm seeing it? Like, I
Yeah,
look big on the screen and you look small.
yeah, yeah,
That's how they're seeing it.
yeah.
That's wild. So there's a British flag behind us, right?
Yeah, there's a British flag. So if I could change the setting, and if I did it like this, you
Oh,
could probably see, yeah, the British. Yeah, so I've changed. No, I've not changed the logo, but I've moved it around slightly and stuff like that. So
all right. Nah, because I look bigger, so they're gonna be like, yo, I was watching this interview. Yo, I didn't realize TL Cross is from the UK. Yo, that's
no,
crazy, bro.
I
He's
think what
British.
when I'm using Zoom, unfortunately, Zoom just has the side by side. But when I stream live, I'm able to say let my guest get the spotlight, and and I'm in the corner, stuff like that. So that helps out. When I interviewed Mr. Dalvin, he had the phone at portrait, and he was he wanted to show the stuff where he was in the studio, but it was quite a distance, so people couldn't see his face. And he doesn't do many interviews, so I was fine with the fact that he doesn't, didn't want the camera up front and stuff like that. But a lot of comments were, "Oh, look at how you're showing yourself so big, and you're not letting us see the guests." So you get the kind of thing. So you start getting you get conscious about it and says, "Well, I can't control the fact that that's how he wanted to set it up, because he doesn't do much many interviews, and when he does, um, he sets it up in a way that's comfortable for him. Others are fine with it. There, let's get up close and stuff. So
Let me see.
yeah,
You talking about Delvin?
yeah, Mr. Dalvin, yeah,
All right, all right. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. I noticed that. I noticed that.
But that, hence, as I said, when I'm having this opportunity to be able to say, "Hey, let me spotlight my guest,"
Yeah.
and then it is not a problem. Yeah,
It's
but
all good.
anyway,
I'm
it's
just, I was just messing with you, bro. I like what you're doing. I like how you got that. Not because it makes me bigger. No. Seriously, it's not that it makes me bigger, but it's just this is different. I've never seen it look like this before. So this is cool. I've learned
Yeah, yeah, appreciate it. Anyway, guys, we want to thank you for those who are tuning in. I've kept him for almost 2.5 hours, which
I'm here.
which which is definitely an appreciation. But as I said, we're gonna have to come back down a little down the road, maybe when he's ready to announce he's sealed up. But if not before then, there'll be quite a number of other things, post up or pre-election and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it will be really focusing on our community and how we can really try and edify. That's all I try and do, is promote positivity, but to be able to have those tough discussions, really helps other people to understand and stuff. So, yes. Anyway, so I'll see you guys, and we'll end this, and then, yeah, and tune into the next one. All right, take care.
Appreciate